Monday night, 8 p.m. You see KV and DV. You know, that means, and when you hear this animal song, you know that it's dialogue with Dozie. What up, Kim?
What's up, bro?
Got it, you got it, you got it.
Right.
Where we come from, man?
2, 3 little nappy head boys from out east, man. Duval County all day.
Yes, sir.
That's it. V3 for life, you know.
It's a little upside down, but I'm getting there.
Dozie I and Hazel's 3 little nappy head boys from out east. That's what we are. So.
Yes, sir. Glad to see you back, man. Missed you last week. And
yeah, just been running, ripping so much, you know, trying to get ready for the holidays and just preparing for stuff. So miss being on. So
being on Tuesday night, I think kind of threw a lot of our viewers and everything. In spite of me, you know, letting them know. But look like our 2 pro football teams trending in different directions.
Man, you see me repping my Jaguar gear tonight. I got to stick with my boys through thick and thin. We having a terrible, probably one of the worst seasons I can remember. And it's embarrassing every time they take the field because I already know they had a lead the other day, and I told Donna they're going to find a way to lose the game, and sure enough, they did. So they go and fire the general manager. General manager wasn't the problem. We need to get rid of the coach. The general manager bringing in great players. We keep them here, piss them off, and they go somewhere else and win them a ring. So, you know, it's the coaching. Our coaching is terrible. So until we address the real issues, we're going to continue to lose. So
he does. I think they're probably going to send him packing at the end of the year. You guys are trending for the number 1 or number 2 pick. I know y'all trying to get Lawrence. Is it any chance Jacksonville's tanking? They let everybody go.
If they what now?
Tanking. Like,
tanking.
Yeah,
no,
tanking.
They ain't taking it. The boys playing hard, man. You can see it in the games. They playing hard. They just getting beat.
Yeah, the players
are find a way to lose the game, you know.
Yeah, but the players. I mean, the Jacks. Okay, you guys were 3 minutes from the Super Bowl a few years ago, and I'm sure there's not a soul from their team on. He just systematically sent everybody packing, and looked like at some point they decided, okay, we just gonna just let this roster go, clear some cap space so we can get some free agents in here. Y'all got rid of Foles, which was a good move. You sent Foles packing after a year or so because he had nothing around him to help him. It just looked like they're taking just to start all over and rebuild.
You know, I look back when we drafted Blake Bortles. We had a chance to get a real quarterback and Houston's quarterback. You know, he was available. And we chose Blake Bortles over him, and you know, I don't want to understand that. You know, some of the decisions are questionable, but I think our GM brought in some great players here. We've had some great talent come through Jacksonville, and it shows in some of the past seasons. But you let them get away. Jalen Ramsey, one of the best safeties in the league. You know, how you let somebody let that leave because you piss him off. Ninyagwe, defensive end, Calais Campbell, a true leader on the field and off the field, did a lot in the community. You let him get away. I mean, I just don't understand their choices. You know, they claim that they're rebuilding. How long they gonna rebuild? Every year they gonna get rid of the veterans and rebuild every year? I mean, it don't make sense to me. So, but I'm stick with them. Them boys, they made me $1,000 there. So I worked with them 16 years. They made me $1,000 there. So I'm gonna keep on supporting them. You know, they're my team. So,
well, I think what they did was systematically tank that. They came to a point of no when they let Calais go, knowing what he meant for in the community as well as on the field. He was the NFL player, man of the year, right? Walter.
Yeah.
When they let him go, I was pretty much convinced that they were in the process of tanking the roster to just totally rebuild. I saw that happen down here. Nobody will ever admit it. And Flores came in last year, and he really tried to win, but they really didn't have the talent, and everybody knew it. So they call it tanking for Tua down here. So, and that's eventually what happened with his injury and everything. We were able to get him around the 5th pick. But I think they'll be back. I just think they gave up on that team too quick.
I think if you're tanking your team, you don't get rid of certain people. I would kept a lead on my offense and kept a lead on my defense and build around that. You know, when you bringing in the new guys, because if you draft them from college, those guys are coming from college. I don't care if it's Lawrence. I don't care what an outstanding player they were in college. When they come to the NFL, they still need some people around them to kind of show them the ropes. And right now, our team ain't got no leaders on it. You know, we got no leaders on our team whatsoever right now. The quarterback, we don't even have a quarterback identified yet. We got a guy played yesterday, never played his first time playing in a pro game. So,
what happened to the mustache? What's his name?
He went out. He went out with the injury. They brought in the second string quarterback. He played for like 3 games, and now they brought in this new guy that never played a pro game. Yesterday was his first pro game. So. You know, I mean, we don't have any identity on our team. We have a couple of receivers. Thank God for Keenan McCardle. I hope they keep him here, and I like to see Keenan get a chance at being an interim coach. That's why I like to see him go ahead and get rid of the coach we got now. Let him step up as an interim coach. I know he's never been a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, but hey, the man he got him a Super Bowl ring. He got experience in winning. He played under Tom Coughlin. He knows how to coach a team. The receivers show up every week. So I like to give him opportunity. Somebody got to do it. This coach we got now just not the answer. And they need to go ahead and do an interim coach so we can go ahead and start getting the players right, you know?
I was just so shocked that they let if they let the GM go, look like they would have let the GM and the coach go at that time.
Exactly.
Because certainly Sean Khan, he know whatever the grand scheme, the big plan is, and certainly the GM was not doing that by himself by systematically letting that roster go. And so it just looks like to me, hi Fern.
Hey Fern.
Yeah, your boy's back in town tonight, Fern. just looks like to me that I don't know what I just didn't know what to make of that move yesterday.
Your voice is doing what Troy's voice was doing earlier.
Okay.
I don't know what's
still doing it. Is it still doing it?
We just need to get some experience. We got to have some experience on our roster. I mean, you look at every other team, they got players that identify the team by certain players. Jacksonville, we don't have that, you know. And I've been around working with the NFL long enough to know now that you look at teams like Pittsburgh. Those guys go there, they play there, and they retire from there. Yeah. A lot of them go there and stay there and retire from there. We don't have that here in Jacksonville. We never had it from the beginning. And the guys, when he's done with his 4-year contract, and they supposed to pay him more money per union and all that, they send him packing instead of paying the man the money that he deserves. Another team pay him and he go there and get him a Super Bowl ring. It's probably 10 or 12 players that left Jacksonville, went that same year and got a Super Bowl ring. And that's Keenan McCardle's one of Mark Brunell, Paul Spicer. I can go on down the line naming players,
Yeah, so, I think they did that with Ramsey because they realized that Ramsey was going to, what he was going to demand. They were not part of their grand scheme because they had started letting that roster go at that point. And I think at that point they probably decided, well, we're not going to be able to pay him, so let's just get him out of here. They got
Ramsey left.
Nothing for him.
Ramsey wanted the money thing. He left because he got into it with Tom Coughlin. And he said he didn't want to play for Jacksonville no more because he didn't want to play. He didn't want to play for that anybody who talked to him like that. So that's why Ramsey left. And I'm a Tom Coughlin fan, but I'm just saying that's why Ramsey left. He made it known why he left. He didn't leave because of money. They would have paid Ramsey. The Shad Khan actually said if he would stay, that he would pay him. But at that point, he didn't want to stay here in Jacksonville. He wanted to leave, so he left.
Yeah, they trade him. I don't think they got you can't get a value of a Ramsey, but. Yeah, but they got picked, so I just think that was part of their overall grand scheme, at that point, to say, let's just, right after that, in fact, I was up there when they let Calais go, traded him. And I said, yeah, they're just straight tanking now, let this team go. I know I'm about this chop, and you about that. Yeah. So
I'm a Gator fan, too. I cheer for all the Florida teams, but, You know, it's UM, Florida, then Florida State. So, you know, that's my pecking order.
Yeah, you and I just reversed at the top. That former all-girls school over in Tallahassee will always be the bottom of our choices. But look like we're both headed to, I don't know, you guys not going to go to the ACC championship game because it'll be Clemson and Notre Dame, I guess. So we probably going to go to Bama, and I'm a Gator fan, but we have no defense, and Bama is a juggernaut this year. They tough on both sides. So I don't see us emerging going to the championship round after that. So I'm kind of thinking that it may end up being the Orange Bowl. Orange Bowl may be Florida and Miami. That would really be a good one.
That would be a good game. Yeah, that would be a good game.
It's just a shame you can't pack that Orange Bowl. I mean, what is it? What is it? Hard Rock Stadium now. It's a shame it can't be packed because of the pandemic. Well, listen, the night we got listen, this is just, he's a gem. I guess you say, well, you say that every week. This fella is a gem of a human being. He's a spiritual brother. He's a Christian. He's a spiritual brother. You're going to hear that in everything he says. I've been kind of monitoring from a distance on Facebook, and I said, man, this guy knows how to retire. And I knew he would when he came to, if he ever retired. And he's coming on right now. Brother Lew Hill is coming on, and he's going to talk about retirement. And Lew, how you doing, man?
I am well. Thank you so much. Thank you. So good to see you and see LaToya and to meet your brother after all these years. You know, it's been a while since we even had this kind of a FaceTime talk. So just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Are you guys getting that bad feed he's getting?
Yeah, we're getting that garbled sound for some reason.
Yeah,
are we? I wonder if it's me. Maybe I'm overpowering.
Well, actually, it happened before you came in, Mr. Lewis. So I don't know. His last of his conversation was like that. I don't know if it,
Now you doing it, Kim.
I don't know what. So I don't know what it is.
Everybody sounds clear on my end. How do I sound?
Everyone's clear on my end as well.
Toy, do we all need to come back on?
We good now, I think.
Huh?
Yeah, everybody sounds good to me.
Because it's like everybody's doing it. Am I doing it now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you do it.
Well,
just then you did it.
Oh, is
We'll
it?
try it, and we'll go from here. If we need to sign out and sign back in, we'll do that. So, to our fans, welcome to Dozie Land. It's Kim Corn, the show, Lew.
Yeah.
To our viewers, and we asked his niece and my daughter Toya to come on tonight. She's always behind the scenes because she has a history with his family. He has just like us, 2 girls and a boy. The boy just happened to reverse order. His son is the oldest in their family, but they did a lot of stayovers and stuff like that. So I asked Toya to come in and kind of deal. But Lew primarily tonight is going to talk about retirement. We want our viewers to know how to retire, to prepare for retirement. Then when you get to retirement, to be retired, not depending on the job. If you want one, that's a different story. But to know how to retire. And every time I see this guy with his big fish and jogging and in the gym, I say, oh, this brother is doing it. He knows how to retire. So, Lew, tell him a little bit about your career, please. We were kicking it before we came on.
Sure. Well, it was my opportunity to meet you and your family when I was assigned to run the store, Sears store in Sterling, Illinois there. And I had a long career with Sears, as I was talking with Kim earlier, starting out as a stock boy, eventually working into management, human resources personnel. The company at that time, as a lot of companies were doing, were integrating Black men and women into their core management team. So I became a part of their reserve group, and that positioned me to be trained as well as to be transferred So effectively, after I had like 9 transfers with the company. I ran 4 stores, and I had 3 district jobs: district operations manager, district human resource, and all of that was in Iowa and Nebraska. And then came back here to Wisconsin in 2002, where I was the operations manager. And each of the district had 16 stores that I had a major impact upon. And so I was very fortunate that I got in at a time when companies really did value having long service employees, as we were called at that time, as compared now to the 5-year pinners. People who really just come to your place, work for 5 years, get a pin, get it on their resume so they can move on to the next level. And so in the midst of all of that, transferring and working, I made sure I stayed, number one, focused on my faith, focused on my family, and then focused on extracurricular activities outside of work. So when you start thinking about retirement, you need to be thinking, what are you going to do when you retire? I tell everyone, you need to retire to something, not away from everything.
Before we get into retirement conversations, because I never knew this, Lew, are you saying that there was that Sears had something, what maybe it was official, maybe unofficial affirmative action that trained blacks to prepare them for management? Is that what you said?
I think the company at that time, Sears was a major retailer, and I truly believe that they had a heart for promoting people. As it was a great place to learn and to grow. Would I say it was specifically spelled out? I think it was on the docket that they needed to get more minorities into management. Okay. So there were 2 types. There was the national trainee, and those were the ones who achieved that status because of their education. And then there was a reserve group, which was me. I was in reserve group, which means I had the qualities that they were looking for, but as also could be developed.
Kim?
Yes.
Weigh in, Kim. Because you were the first
and Mr. Hill spoke prior to coming on the air, coming live on the air. We talked about I did about a year stint at Sears, started out working in the stock room. Mm-hmm. And, I was just doing it just to get through college. I was going to the junior college downtown. I actually worked where some people might not even know that, but some of the listeners might not know it. But Sears used to be right where the Landon used to sit downtown. The Landon is now gone too, but it was where the Jacksonville Landon was years ago, back in the 80s, and before then, Sears was there. I can remember as a kid, because I was a little stocky kid. I remember when Mama used to take us shop, and I used to have to get my jeans in the Husky section. It had the Husky section,
That's right.
I used to have to get my clothes from. So
tough skins.
right. Tough skins. What was those 2 robots? Denim robots or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like you. I started going to Sears after high school. My sister recommended I go and apply for a job. And so as I was going to school, studying sociology, psychology, because I really wanted to be a community organizer. And keep in mind, this is the 60s and the early 70s when we were really active. And so I really was more interested in the community than I was in retail. Mm-hmm. But the doors were open for me to get into that program, and I started out like a stock boy, man. I mean, I worked. Kim, you worked there. We worked. It was nothing for us to unload a truckload of paint, appliances, tires, batteries, whatever. And I always had the belief that wherever you are, you have an opportunity. You need to take advantage of it. So I'd clean up an area that needed to be cleaned up without anybody ever asked me to do it. And all of that helped to build my reputation with the company.
Mm. Okay. Tell you that I was
when you signed in, Mr. Hill went,
expecting to get a
his
job
voice
out
started.
on the floor or doing something. I later years
Yeah,
later
it's
I worked
something
at
with
JCPenney selling suits. But
now
when I
Kim
was
was
at
doing.
Sears and they gave me that position, I mean, I took pride in it. Anytime, any job I've
Boy,
ever held, I've always taken pride in it. So I was in the stock room and I was working. It wasn't like you said, Mr. Hill. It was work.
It's
We didn't
work.
go there and have do anything. We actually worked, and I took pride in it. And it helped build my character and it helped me make me who I was. So
Oh yeah, I give a lot of credit to Sears for its allowing me to do what I have done in my life. And I remember people would always say to me, "Are you still working?" I said, "Yes, I'm still working. I worked up until age 65." And I could still be working now because it wasn't a lack of energy or ability. It was just really the company itself was not the wonderful place that you and I used to work at after it was sold to this corporate raider or to this real estate guy. And so, in the annals of my history, I have nothing good to say about Sears Roebuck and Company. That's how I ended up meeting Pastor Bonner and his family.
Wait, Lou, did you just say you have nothing good to say? Is that in retrospect or?
I have everything good to say.
okay. I misunderstood it too.
Yeah.
No, I can't say nothing but good about Sears. We had our challenges, and I had to be challenged being a black man managing people, managing stores, moving into small communities like Sterling Rock Falls, and then moving into the Midwest, Iowa and Nebraska, and just matriculating through all of those stores. I had two jobs actually in Iowa, Nebraska, where I traveled from Moline, Illinois to Grand Island, Nebraska, with 16 stores in between, one for automotive, one for human resources. So I was always out and away from us and out in the hinterland. It was 750 miles from Moline, Illinois to Grand Island, Nebraska.
Wow. So Lou, I guess I want to ask you, how does it feel to see what the Walmarts and the Amazons have done to landmarks like Penny's and Sears and Maycoins? I mean, as a lifelong employee from there, how does that? I mean, what does that?
The one of the saddest things for me is to walk up into Lowe's and see just tremendous line of Craftsman tools, which was a hallmark of Sears.
Right.
And it's a function of the life of the economy. You either adapt and grow with the new economy or you go away. And our company still had a very old model. It was a very good model when it was working, but they failed to keep up with the big box merchant, and we start allowing product lines to leave our stores and trying to focus on being all things to all people. In other words, we continued on with the apparel business, which was not our strong suit, when we should have just been hardware, appliances, home electronics, automotive, mattresses, and maybe even furniture. We would have been a much stronger company, and I think we would have had a little bit more lasting power. I remember specifically when Best Buy came in, I was an operations manager at Southridge store in Des Moines, Iowa. The salespeople would say, okay, so you go over to Sears, they'll tell you all about how the product works, and you come back and buy it from us at a lower price.
See, I remember when Brand Central, you were in fact in Sterling when Brand Central, which was the introduction of other products outside of the Sears line. Is that
yes?
You gobbled those, Okay.
Yeah, it was, and Brand Central really. When I got there, Dozie, that little store, they had left it about 70% remodeled, and so the Brand Central department was incomplete. I had to come in and redo all of that. And it was my first store. And that's when Brand Central was put in place. That's when we did start selling other brands of appliances and expanded home electronics outside of the Sears brand.
We go get returned. But let me ask you this: I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's all right.
What was the pressure like as a manager of a store as far as sales? Was marketing and all of that under you, and was there a lot of pressure from the top when you were the top?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The company started more centralization as I really got going with the company. Before, there was a lot of autonomy. Store managers of old, these guys were the kings of their serfdom, and you couldn't come into their store basically then and tell them what to do, even if you were a region manager. That's how Sears really built its company, based on the local store taking advantage of what the buyers had to offer. And so they were less centralized. And then when centralization came in, you have more control over advertising, more control over assortment, pricing, presentation, and everything else. So centralization did make a huge change as it relates to how, we're doing our business.
Well, thank you for sharing so much about your career. We were getting ready, and by the way, I don't know if we said it. Lew Hill's from Detroit, and so and I'm learning all of this stuff from him tonight about a desire to be a community organizer and all of that. That's only natural because of all the stuff that was going on in the '60s. And Detroit certainly was, let me just say, it was a chocolate city basically, and it was a hot pen for social activism and so forth. So I never knew that about you, Lew, but that's awesome. You were just about to talk about retirement. Kim was the first of we three. You still do the V3. The Varners had have three sons, and he's the first, and I followed him. But I feel like I'm the real first, because he retired and worked other jobs. Everybody was trying to grab me. He couldn't say no. So he just retired.
Okay. Well, that's great. And when I retired in 2013, it was kind of a combination of the company made such drastic changes and my numbers were not showing as well. And so I invited myself out before the company did. But retirement is wonderful if you plan your retirement. Now,
please say that again. Please.
It's wonderful if you plan your retirement. Retirement is something that just should not just happen, because I say you need to retire to something. Now, that something is for you as an individual. For me, Dozie, if you remember, I kept my social activism up even when I was there with you, working with United Way. If you recall, I was the chairperson for the United Way Drive.
Rotary.
I was engaged in Rotary there, and of course the work that I did with you at the church. Yeah. So I continued to keep my focus on community service. Wherever I went, whatever job I had, the company would allow me to do that. And so when I got here to Wisconsin, I immediately joined the church. I had three things I always did, right? I secured the job, I found a home, and I joined the church. Yes. And then I was able to carry on with work inside and outside. So I planned when I was going to retire that I was going to continue on with a level of dedicated service to the community. And I did that.
So did Sears have a 401k or a drop plan, anything in place for its employees that retire?
Yeah, Sears.
The service do they require in order to retire at Sears?
Well, it changed. It all changed once the company was sold to the real estate developer. At that time, I had 30 years with the company. I had 30 years of pension, and they froze my pension at 30 years and installed 401k. So I had 401k going, but I lost that 10 years. I see a good friend of mine, Betty Cole, that just tagged in from when I was down in Sterling, Illinois. I'm sorry, not where was I? I was down in Southern Illinois there. But anyway, and so to my chagrin, when the new guy came in, they basically froze my pension. So I lost another 14 years of pension, and they also froze and eliminated retirement medical in all of that. So yeah, I couldn't get any retirement medical or anything else, but I worked until I was 65, so I could go right on into Medicare. And plus, my wife was still working.
So there was no kind of legal recourse you could have taken?
No, because of the new owner.
Toy, where you Toy?
I was in Carbondale, Illinois. I couldn't think for a minute. If you saw Betty Cole come in, Betty was a good friend of ours in Carbondale, Illinois, which was my first transfer, Pastor. I went from Detroit, Michigan to Southern Illinois. So I went from the frozen to the hot, one fell swoop. But so yeah, I think it's going to be a real challenge for young people now, because there probably aren't any pension programs unless you're working for a governmental agency or some other production facility that might still offer it. So building enough wealth to be able to retire. Thank you, Betty, and to really continue on with the life that you enjoyed while you were working can be a real challenge. People don't stay with companies as long as they used to, and companies don't usually want you to stay because they are interested in turnover and lowering the salary and the cost to operate their businesses. And now we have such a mixed bag now with this COVID-19 and with the shutdown of so many businesses. It's really going to be real challenging for someone if you don't plan well. Now, a part of my plan, Pastor, was, and I still call you Pastor, so that's okay online here, was to when I retired, was to get my expenses down to what my income was. So I say to everybody, work on getting out of debt.
Yeah.
And we as a people, as a race, we spend a lot more of our income on disposable items. We don't save enough.
Yeah.
We don't plan enough. We're not in the stock market. It says about 67% of those persons making $50,000 or more a year will be in the stock market. But that's a small portion of the African American community. So you need to plan that, and you need to put a pencil to it. I just believe that I said the one thing I wanted to do was to be out of debt when I retired. And I did, and I am. I even don't have a mortgage right now. I'm going to get one again. But part of that house cleaning was to get out of debt and to really learn how to manage and live on what I have. And we live well. I mean, my wife is still working. Julia is still going, man. Dr. Hill is still on it.
We talked about that. She said she sees her way out too, though.
I think. I think so. But now aside, the financial piece can really be tough. For me, the one thing is moving so many times. I didn't build up the equity in a property that someone like yourself will have because you've been there for a while. Yeah. The last house that we bought was a big house, a brand new house that was being built in Milwaukee. And it was in an upscale neighborhood, more or less, and it had an upscale price tag to it. But what happened, we bought it in 2008.
Oh,
Do you remember 2008? That was a great fallout.
Right.
Everybody was losing.
Right.
People were people were losing their homes. They were losing jobs, and the property value for what I paid for that house, it started dropping like a rock.
Yeah.
And then they took and they reduced residency so that you could live in any of the suburban areas around Milwaukee. You didn't have to live in Milwaukee proper. And so the folks that would buy a house in my price range could move anywhere else. Meanwhile, taxes are still up, property value is going down.
Right.
So we made the decision after living in that house for about 8 years, and with the blessings of having Michelle and all her kids there with us too. I'll tell you that story privately. But we went from 3 of us to 7 of us overnight in that house. So if you're looking at retirement, your financial piece needs to be there, but it's not all about the money. It's also about maintaining yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Yes, yes. Toya, weigh in.
1 second. Maintaining yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, correct?
Yes, I call it MSP, and I developed that. Oh man, I developed that back in Detroit when me and my buddies who were in the struggle would sit around and talk all the time about how we were going to overcome, and we started thinking, well, you got 3 aspects of yourself, and those 3 aspects of yourself you must take care of, and you need to pour into each one of them individually and collectively. So just think of yourself as a 3-legged stool, and a 3-legged stool can stand, but you take one leg off, and what happens?
Right.
The stool falls. So Latoya, it's a very simple equation, but it is fundamentally rooted and grounded, number one, in faith. It's in education, and it's in taking care of yourself physically. So, and I do all of that. I mean, I hit the gym 6 days a week, and I do an hour a day, and I keep on finding other ways. I was talking to you, Pastor, about buying a bicycle so that I can get my aerobics. I don't need to run anymore because I got 72-year-old knees right now, and they don't want to hear that. Yeah. But I can also, there's just so many avenues that one can follow if you decide you want to sustain yourself. Yeah. If you decide that you want to live a holistic life, you need to identify the things in your life that you want to have holistically to come together. And to me, they are all intricately tied. I cannot be spiritually in tune if I'm not physically able. And if I'm not mentally able, I can't be spiritually in tune. And if I'm not physically able, I can't do any of it. So you gotta decide, how do you want to live your life? What do you want to do? And to me, retirement is not a time for the couch.
Right.
And I get a little upset with our culture because of its ageism. And number one, that affects you in trying to maintain employment at a certain age. And then all of a sudden they want to start classifying you, Somebody said, Lew, you have any pre-existing conditions? I said, yeah, I'm old. I'm old, but I don't have any physical issues. I don't have, excuse me 1 minute here.
Okay. Hey, Kim, you I want to really get in about your retirement, because you retired at a real,
I heard you call my name, Dozie,
you were real young when you retired.
Anything you're saying is garbled.
Can y'all hear me, Toya?
I can.
It's garbled.
Okay. I think it's his connection.
I'm missing out on 75% of all the conversation tonight for some reason. It's all garbled. I've gone out twice and come back in, but I'm missing out on it, a lot of the conversation for some reason.
Is it still garbled?
I can text. What's the question you had, Dad? I can send it to him because
I'm not here. If y'all can hear me, I can't understand what y'all are saying.
What was your question about retirement, Dad?
I'm not getting it.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. It's garbled now. I can hear. Can you hear me, Lew?
Yes, I can hear everybody.
Me too. Perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. Now it's getting okay. Kim, you retired. You mind sharing with us what year how old you were when you retired?
I'm not getting that.
Okay. Can you hear me, Kim?
I can hear you. I can hear you guys talking, but it's garbled. I can't understand it. It's scrambled.
Were you asking that, Toya?
I just did.
Okay. You get that note, Kim?
I can hear that. I hear you now. I can understand you now. And
Okay.
I don't know if it's mine. I've gone out twice, tried to come back in. I can hear bits and pieces of Mr. Lewis when he was speaking, and Mr. Hill when he was speaking. I heard bits and pieces of it, but it was going in and out. So I've been trying to sit here and not cause any distractions from it, you know.
Sorry about that. We all it's coming and going. I don't know what's calling. Kim, how old were you when you retired? If you don't mind sharing.
I was 47 years old when I retired.
Goodness of life.
And Mr. Hill, I don't know if you're aware. I'm a retired police officer. I retired from the sheriff's office here in Jacksonville. We have we have a 20-year retirement plan, and then you can do 5 years in a drop plan. If you're familiar with a drop plan, we do 5 years in a drop, so you can retire after 25 years. I ended up retiring at 26 years because I was working for the NFL, and they wanted to hire me and make me a security rep. I was working for the Jaguars actually, and the NFL wanted to hire me to make me a security rep here in Jacksonville for the league. So I left at 26 years. I probably would still be doing that job. I loved it that much. But that's you know, I left it. I retired at 40. Was fortunate enough to retire at 47 years old. And after retiring, I was gone for 2 months. And the Police Athletic League called me. They were starting up a mentorship program because I love working with kids. And they called me up and they said, "Hey man, I know you just left. You only been gone 2 months, but we have a grant for a mentorship program. We need a coordinator. Your name keeps coming up for the position." And I went and ran that for 2 years. And I just like Dozie said earlier, I've been working ever since then. If something else will come along, my heart is working with people in the streets. You know, gang members and people that's we got a lot of kids dying in the streets here in Jacksonville, and that's where my heart is. So I left there and went to work, you know, different organizations that deal with that. Organization called Cure Violence, which started out of Chicago, where a bunch of convicted felons walk the streets trying to convince the other people on the streets to put down the weapons, stop killing each other. Their thing is, we don't care what else you're doing, we don't care nothing about your hustling or whatever, just stop killing each other. I worked that for about a year, almost a year, a couple of months short of a year, and went back to work at the Police Athletic League, went to work at the Public Defender's Office in the Homicide Division as an investigator and a mitigator. And now I'm working for an organization called Dedication to Community, which we travel the country teaching diversity to different police agencies because of climate right now. So I agree with what you said. The part that I can hear, I agree with what you said about you need to retire to something, because right now I feel like I'm retired because I travel doing that job, and if I'm not traveling, I'm just home sitting around. And I tell you, it gets boring.
Yeah. Well,
You're bored, Kim?
I mean, I get up, and me and my wife, we went and ran the bridges today. I mean, I try and stay active. But hey, Phyllis. But I try to stay active. But you're right. You need to retire to something. If not, especially in the profession that I retired from.
yes.
Statistics show that after 5 years, you know, we usually check out of here because we're used to being on the go so much, and then all of a sudden, all that comes to an end, and our systems just shut down on us. So, fortunately, I survived. You know, 11 years after being retired. I left in 2010, so I'm coming up on 11 years. So. But
hey, but
I agree with what you said. You got to retire to something. Have something planned to do and all that. I'm not really. I'm not in the place I want to be financially, but I'm not hurting financially. But I just, as far as being bored and having something to do, I think is very important. So.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for your level of service, man. I mean, what you just laid out is tremendous. Because you were involved at the very basic level of the human experience, and as one who is a law enforcement officer, man, for all that you put in, thank God that you made it on through there. and that you are still giving back. I have a good friend of mine here who retired from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, and he works for a company where they actively go in and train police officers, and they train prison workers, college campus police, anyone that really is dealing with law enforcement. He goes in and he's extremely good at it. I can get you that information. They kind of go nationwide, and they travel. He travels a lot, at least pre-COVID he did. And escalation, de-escalation training, and all of those things that you are so familiar with is what he's continuing to do. Mm-hmm. But there's a great need for you, particularly. Thank you for being out and working with children. And working with the former persons who have been in trouble. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I decided that I was going to continue on with my level of service to the community. Mm-hmm. So I helped in the neighborhood where I was talking about, where I own the house. We started a neighborhood improvement district through the city, which allowed our community to become a taxing agency, so we could tax the members of the households there and use those funds to work on improving the community. Now, it's a city government program that allows you to do that, and so I continue to do that. At my church, I'm still heavily involved in that, teaching. But I also started a seniors ministry because we didn't have one, and we had an aging congregation. And I'm concerned that as seniors and retired persons, that we have so much to offer our communities. We can't afford to sit on it and let it atrophy. And that's what happens to you physically, mentally, and spiritually. If you don't stay engaged, you're going to atrophy. And so atrophy eventually, like you said, leads to an early death. So I did that. Now the YMCA, where I go, I've been there since 2008. The last couple of years, I'm serving as the chairman of the board of directors for that YMCA. I just started working out there. And I ended up doing that. I went to a Easter breakfast. They asked me to pray at the Easter breakfast in front of all of these white people. I'm the only light complected speck in the crowd. And I did that, and they loved it. And all of a sudden, opportunities open up. So I did that. And I was telling you, Pastor, earlier, last year, Julia and I both signed up as travel agents.
Yeah.
Kim, here's a good one for you, man. We traveled up with Expedia. Signed up with Expedia Travel Agency. You go through a lot of training, and now I can sell cruises, I can sell land-based packages, I can sell any of that. And then what happens? COVID-19. So nothing's going anywhere.
And Lew, you know what? That is the ideal. I did some research heading into tonight's show. And it talked about the thing that was predominant was maintaining a stream of income that was not likened to a 9-to-5, or basically not working on somebody's job. And that was sorry, I'm so sorry, Kim, that's happening. We are alternating, not being able to make out what we're saying. I'm so sorry that's happening to Kim. But that was the prototype retirement job, because all you had to do was work from the computer. So and then Lew, one of the things my research says, and I'm recently retired. I'm kind of like you, Lew. I had not planned to come out when I did. Thankfully, I was, it didn't kill me financially, but I had not really planned psychologically and otherwise. But with my dad passing and everything, the Lord knew how it all would work out. But one of the things, and I was really hoping Kim would be able to hear this. One of the things that the experts say is keep a schedule and a structure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even your date, a day that you don't have, that you don't go to the Y, or if you don't work out every day, a day, have a plan, structure, and what kind of helps me stay mentally alert. Because Toya tell you that we got a project that I need to be working on. I'm gonna get it done, Toya, before the end of the year. I promise. But I structure before I come downstairs. You know, I get my devotion in. Of course, I got to do that now without any kind of interruptions. I have to put the telemarketers on hold and try not to have curse words going through my head when they're disturbing on the phone. Yeah, Toy. But for the most part, the food thing, the meds thing, all of that, and I find that to be very helpful to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Toya, did you want to weigh in? You haven't said anything. You want to weigh in and ask a question?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, it is so good to be here with Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill.
And you're so grown.
So the last time we connected was over 20 years ago. And what I recall when we did the pre-show deal today is just that same sweet, the warmness, the loving kindness, and so astute. So always just wanting to be helpful. And so I just want I want the world to know that I appreciate that, because you need folks like that in the community that you can look up to, you know. So thank you for doing that for us.
Thank you. Thank you. And I absolutely agree that keep a schedule and a structure. My life is very structured, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. And believe me, within this COVID-19 period, there were some lapses in my structure because I couldn't do things. And so on a Sunday morning, when I couldn't go to praise and worship, you know what I would do? And you might have seen it. I'd put on my walking clothes.
I saw you.
And I'd go out to the park and I would walk. And then I would have conversation about it on Facebook. I call it a praise walk, you know. So I think the thing is having that structure. Now, mine will probably drive you young people crazy because I'm about a half hour from my bedtime. and I'm in the bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm up every morning at 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Wow, yeah. I know you always used to do that. Even if they know you would be walking. Toy, go ahead.
All right, so Mr. Hill, I definitely have a question for you. And so, okay, so you mentioned earlier here that in the business loyalty and the employee loyalty is not the same as it was when you were working, and I can attest to that. Definitely, I've worked places for maybe 4 or 5 years, and it's just time to go. You know, you know. And then this last place that I worked there 11 years, and I was fired during COVID because of COVID business decisions. You know, and so. Someone like me, how do I plan for retirement? Like, what's your recommendations? Because I currently work for myself, and I enjoy it. Like, I can't even imagine retiring from what I do. It's fun. I love working with business owners, but I do need to establish some type of plan. What do you have any tips for someone? I know millennials and folks like me. I'm about 40. What can I do to plan for retirement?
Yeah, you definitely have some challenges. You have some challenges. The first thing I would say is to avoid debt. And I know when you're raising a family and you've got young children, and like we did, debt is easy to get into because sometimes it's based on what you need, and a lot of times it's based on what you want.
Yes.
And I spent some years learning that. For one thing, my company made it relatively easy for me to do that. Here's Julia. There she is.
Hi. How's everybody?
It's so good to see you.
You all too. Bless you.
Look how grown she is.
Oh, I know. Beautiful young lady.
Oh, were y'all going to do a duet? Is that what was going to happen?
What's that?
We are going to sing a duet this evening.
Oh,
Oh,
duet.
my.
We've been singing a duet for close to 50 years now.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
September of next year, we will have been married 50 years.
What a blessing.
Congratulations.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Kim Varner.
Yes, sir.
But I didn't answer her question. So,
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
please continue.
yeah. So, I a lot of the young people are coming out with debt, from school and all of that. Our son really listened to us about debt, and to this day, Lew doesn't have any nagging debt,
Awesome.
and he's done real well. Now, of course, he's also an engineer, computer engineer, PhD, and he's working for NASA now. I don't know if I told you that. And so he's doing extremely well. But he also avoided the pitfalls of being in debt.
Yeah.
So for you now, you've got your business plan, and you're enjoying what you're doing. Look for other revenue streams that can go alongside that.
That's right.
That's what the travel agency has potential for Julia and I, but we got into it not necessarily for income, but to learn about travel so that we can travel and we can earn free cruises. We had a free cruise set up. But it's not a big revenue generator because you're normally booking months out. You're young enough that you could get into it now, and you could be booking, and you don't have to work a 40-hour week doing it. You could be booking cruises from where you are, you in cruise heaven, and working in that industry aside your job. And I know you got children and everything else, but it's something that you can do at home. And we have our LLC. We have to pay for our web page. It's $15 a month. Company provides that. They provide you all the training. This is with Expedia.
Nice.
Cruise Center. So go ahead and check that out.
Yeah.
But then, you've got a lot of time that you can still work. And that's the other thing. Don't be guided by conventional wisdom that says at a certain age you need to be doing this or doing that, or you need to stop doing this or stop doing that.
That's what the experts say. That's what
the experts will say. I don't see myself as 72 years of age. Yeah. I see myself as 72 years of experience that I can use to benefit myself and to benefit others. And so 72 years of age. How many people thought they'd never make it to 72 years of age? Well, I'm looking at 92 years of age before I'll probably sit down in the rocking chair.
Good stuff. Listen, we running into our deadline. Kim, you want to say anything? We're going to ask Mrs. Hill to weigh in. I know you've been out a lot. Go ahead, Kim.
Well, first of all, I want to tell Mr. Hill, I appreciate his service, his line of service that he's doing, working at the Y and the different things that you've done after you've retired. I appreciate your information as far as the what you've just said. The toy. A lot of the conversation tonight, unfortunately for me, has been scrambled for some reason. I've missed out on a lot of it, but I was able to hear the advice you just gave, Toy, and I think that's awesome advice. It's very good advice. You don't look 72, bro. I can tell you that.
Bless you, man.
When you said that earlier about you got 72-year-old knees, I was saying to myself, you don't look 72 at all. So,
Than're
doing what you're doing.
Well, I have this beautiful woman here. This is Dr. Julia Hill, and she is also an author. She's written a book. She continues to work because she absolutely loves what it is she does. But her and I, 50 years coming up, we want to be in a position to do what we want to do. Amen. And so here's a crazy statement. I downsized so that we could upsize.
Oh, wow.
I like that.
Okay. Yeah. So in other words, I said,
I'm going to have to steal that one from you.
Well, you can. It's free, brother. But but sometimes you get tied to what community says you should have and what you should be. And a lot of that is tied to a house or it's tied to a position. And so sometimes you get all the weight of that on top of you, which is nothing but debt generating. And if you don't control that, then all of a sudden it's going to be all on top of you, and you're going to find yourself in a position where you can't expand. So we downsized, got out of a huge house into a 2-bedroom apartment as a temporary step to where we want to go next. But now we are free of the burden of having to try to sell a house if we want to go do whatever we want to do. And and eventually we're going to do that. So she'll tell me what I'm doing when she's ready to let me know.
What? And Ms. Hill, we're gonna hear from you in a second. We're running it our deadline, but let me just say this: what you probably picked up, well, you haven't heard. You've gotten a piece of his inspiration. He has some other talents that we're gonna kind of go off with in a second. But one thing I'm sure our audience has picked up is Mr. Hill is as gifted and all that and wise as he is. He's one of the most humble people you'll ever see. Him and audience, their homes have been wherever they've lived. We've been in a couple of them. They have just been showpiece homes. And I said, if I ever was wanting to build a house, I'm trying to stay in this downsize mode, and I'm gonna hear me upstairs. And she got a different mindset right now. But if I ever wanted to build a house, I think we would come to you and Ms. Hill for consultation, because you guys just have always, Sterling, your house was the house of the city. And we always, whenever you volunteer to have meetings, we ran to it, because that was the whole Super Bowl party. We just had great times. Ms. Hill, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Great.
I'm sorry. I know you're Dr. Hill, but you'll always be sweet, Ms. Hill. You were such a blessing to us as you were.
Thank you, and you to us as well, and to me.
Bless you. Bless you. You want to say something to our audience? I don't know what it's looking like tonight. It'll pick up in the week.
Well, just
Betty Cole was on.
Just for a few minutes, I first of all want to thank God for each and every one of you, because it's our friendship and our relationship that keeps us strong. But I've learned in my number of years' experience, and I too am spending 50 years in education as I look at retirement next year. I've learned that there are some things that I can control and cannot control, but I have to remember first that I have to put it all in God's hand. And those things that I don't control, I have to maintain my faith and be a good servant. I have to be kind. I have to be patient. I don't battle with the barriers as I did when I first began in education and working with other people. Right now I have a staff of about 300 people, and trying to work with them, trying to train them, trying to provide some professional development, all for the sake of our children. But in being patient with them, trying to let them know that kindness and being loving and assuming your responsibility as an adult and within your profession, that's going to make it work for you. Those things are always out there that we can't control. But my final thought is thank God for all of the blessings, and thank God for you. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful Christmas.
Bless you. Thank you, guys. So I don't want to say, get ready to let the Hills go. This has been and this has been a blessed hour.
To us too.
Guys, before we get out of here.
Thank y'all. Love you all so much.
Yes.
Mr. Hill, I know Dozie told me so much about you prior to the show, and you know, it's been a pleasure meeting you and your wife.
Thank you. You too.
I enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for all your advice. I think our listeners, some of the listeners, Phyllis is responding now. Thank you, Dr. Hill. You know, but I can say that I think our listeners have been blessed by what you've had to say tonight. So I appreciate it.
See, Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Yeah. Well, When you see Dozie, little Dozie, tell him the most outstanding memory of him is whenever you all would come over and we were fixing dinner. Everybody would be running around playing, and little Dozie would run up behind the counter and say, "Is it time to eat yet?"
The big Dozie.
Little Dozie is big guy.
Little Dozie is big Dozie now. He played he played football for FAMU, and he turned out to be a massive fellow. And he's doing real great in the real estate. I mean, he's doing superb in the real estate area. So
that's great.
God bless.
That's great. Well, you tell him hello and your wife hello.
Everyone.
And
Latoya, Kimberly.
And Kimberly, and
the children.
Kim, we can talk, man, anytime you want, brother. We don't have to wait for this medium to happen. And
hi, sweetie.
I just believe that you are blessed to be a blessing to others.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Amen.
I appreciate your 72 years of wisdom. I'm going to continue to do what I do. I walk the streets now, and I'm going to continue to walk the streets and keep trying to, make a difference. And I appreciate all you've done. So,
yes,
appreciate you, man.
Yes,
and you too, Pastor Varner, for all those years we got together. We arrived in Sterling at the same time, both of us with young families at the time. I was a little older than you, still am. And it was kind of like it was meant for us to come together to do what we did for the 4 years that we were together in Sterling, Illinois. It'll always be a hallmark.
I think you just said it was what God divinely ordained it, because we were sharing before we came on that for our listeners, for our viewers in Sterling, that like twin cities. Well, not Rock Falls and Sterling, but Dixon, Illinois, is like 11 miles away. That was a former president's hometown. I'm not going to even call his name. But one of our members was so afraid when the Hill family was seeking a place to worship. He was so afraid, and he was a leader in the church, that he thought that he had to guide me, to bridle me, whatever he had to do. And at that point, I hadn't done anything for them to think that I would do anything. He said, "Man, we got to get this guy. Don't run him off. Don't run him off." Well, yeah, I'm not going to run him off. I'm going to do everything he can to get him here. But I just sat back and just let God lead you. And we were it was a blessed time together.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, you and some other families just tagged out because we needed some progressive mindsets that were from the outside. I just said it that way. And you guys were always that for us. I love Sterling. I love the people there. They're without a pastor now. If it was closer to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, I would be putting my name in. I would definitely in my retirement mode from the pastor. But God bless you, and we love you. And this won't be your last time on this show. In fact, we probably will have you back sooner than expected. But we cannot go out of here without our viewers seeing that rich talent that you have. And I asked you to sing the Christmas song. If it's something, else you want to do, just give us.
You're gonna do me like that, huh?
Hallelujah! Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie above the deep and dreamless sleep. The silent star goes by, yet in the dark street shineth the everlasting light. The hope and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight.
All of you who ate too much, that's how you kick into the Christmas.
I got to salute that. That was awesome.
Bless you, Lou. We love you. Dr. Junior, we love y'all here.
Love you too.
So good to see all of you. Good to see you. Toya, keep doing what you're doing, honey. God bless you.
God bless you. Love y'all. Thank you.
All right.
We appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Have a blessed Christmas.
Yeah. Hey, bro, this was a delightful show, and it kind of made up for last night. I mean, last week we missed you, and it wasn't our night. We didn't have our regular viewership, and he was just delightful. I knew he would be such an affable personality and a loving spirit. He's so humble, so humble, and he can get down. He's on that kind of upscale, but he can blow. He can blow. He can blow. Kim, next week, kind of continuing in with the with giving this. I guess this is the pastor side of me. We're still equipping our people to deal with these holidays for people who holidays are very hard on. We have someone from the mental health field that's going to come in on next week and talk about overcoming depression and loneliness. And we're not going to do the whole show on that. In fact, the second half of the show is kind of like a surprise for now. But if you know the term Antoine the Entertainer, that's who we are looking to kind of, after we kind of get out of some of the stuff that we need to work through the holidays, he's going to pick our spirits up and we're going to go home from that. So we're excited about that.
All right, when you want me to get John them lined up for the show?
Hey, that's on you. We're still on, right? Yeah, we're still on. We'll talk off camera. That's short term though. Short term.
All right.
Okay. So, hey, thank you all for joining us back on Monday nights. I feel like Dialogue with Dozie is we're back where we belong, and we got our peeps back, Fern, Phyllis, and everybody that Mr. Hill, his friends. Listen, we do this at 8:00 every Monday night. You are welcome any Monday night to come in, and we have a component. We rarely use it. You can call in. We'll respond. You can call in, and we love you. We love you, Phyllis, and we'll certainly answer your questions. If you pose in a question form, your comments, we'll address all of them. So we love you. God bless you. Stay safe during these holidays. Enjoy the holidays. Enjoy family, and listen. Whatever you do, keep God first. We love you. Dialogue with Dozie next Monday night, 8:00. We'll be looking to see you there.
Happy holidays, everyone. Have a good Christmas. Stay safe.
Easy.